Hello everyone, I'm Ryan, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can create a grid using Inkscape. Grids are pretty useful because when you create figures in Inkscape, for example if you create a rectangle, okay, so create a simple rectangle and the size of the rectangle is just random, you cannot actually align it very easily when you create a second figure. So you'll actually have to keep your eye on the scale over here. So you can make use of guides for that, but sometimes when you have a lot of elements on your page, it does make a lot of sense to make use of grids. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to resize my document. I don't like the default document size, so I'm just going to resize the document and then show you how you can create a grid on that. So let's go to document properties and let's change the size of my document to make it a nice square, 500 to 500 pixels. And if you see, my squares have gone out of the document, so I'm just going to bring them back. And now I want to create a simple grid on this document. So just go to the grids tab over here. It's not somewhere else. It's just on the document properties, and I'm not sure if it's there somewhere else, but I mean this is the easiest way you can actually modify all the grids that you have on the document. So if you see over here, you have two kinds of grids. You have a rectangular grid and then you have an axonometric grid, and I myself haven't explored the axonometric grid, so I'm just going to talk about the rectangular grid right now. That's pretty much the one that you're going to be using a lot. So I'm just going to click on new, create a new grid, and if you see here, the default grid is created and the spacing between the grid elements is 1 pixel. So if you zoom into this image, you can see that there is a grid line for every 1 pixel in the document. So sometimes this level of granularity may not be required by you. Instead, what you can do instead is you can just give it a decent spacing that divides your entire document into proper size. For example, the document size for me was 500 pixels by 500 pixels. So I'm just going to randomly, I'll just choose let's say 10 or 20, or let's say 20 pixels, and make sure that the grid units and the document units are the same, so that you are always aware of where the grid lines would be there. So once you have the grid line, now you can see that your square was not exactly on at a fixed position. So now you can easily go ahead and modify the square. So just drag it and it'll automatically snap to a particular grid border. And if you go to the bottom, you can again resize it, and it automatically snaps over here. It makes designing far easier. And now if you see, even this square which we had here wasn't aligned properly, so I'm just going to take it and let it snap to it snapped automatically. And I'm just going to try to resize this one as well, and it snaps. So all the figures can be of a uniform size or shape. If you want to have it that way, you can have a good amount, a decent symmetry by having grids. And you can one more thing, you see that after every few grid lines, you have one major grid line which is a bit darker, and you can choose the color of your grid lines from here, depending upon the color scheme of your document. So well, that's pretty much how you can create grids in Inkscape. And just don't forget, it's inside the file and the document properties dialog. So this is the place from where you modify the settings of your grid. Okay, I believe that's all I have for this recording, and thanks for listening.